In my previous video I cut the side aprons, the end aprons and the legs. Now I will put them together to make this Worktable. I will make a simple jig to put together the end aprons and the legs, to make sure that the short sides of the table are identical. I use one leg to align a couple of wooden blocks, and I nail them to this plywood board. I nail another wooden block in the other side of the leg, and another one in the top. I move the leg away, and I put the end aprons against the wooden blocks, at a 90 degrees angle with them. And I nail a block in front of each end apron. I put a second leg against those wooden blocks, and I nail another block in the other side of that leg. I make sure the distance between both legs is the same in both ends of the legs. And with the help of the square I make sure that the top of both legs are aligned. If everything is okay, both diagonals should measure the same. And I nail another block in front of that leg. And I nail another one in the other end of each leg. I measure 15 centimeters from the end of the legs to put the lower apron. Because I don't know how the carpenter's glue will do with the wood treatment these posts have, I will sand the place where I will glue the aprons to the posts. I clean the surface I have just sanded, and I put there the top apron. I drill 3 guide holes on each end. I insert the screws until the tip protrudes the other side. I pour some carpenter's glue. I put the apron there, making sure the tip of the screws fit in the guide holes in the posts. And I screw them. I think it would be better to clamp both pieces before I screw them. And I put the lower apron in place. Now I put the other 2 legs in the jig, and the same I did before, I assemble the aprons. I let the glue dry overnight. With the help of a couple of clamps and the square, I put one side apron in its place. I drill 3 guide holes and I insert a couple of screws. I don't glue them now, because I may need to move it to square everything when I put together the rest of the pieces. And I do the same with the other side apron I have to put in the top of the table structure. I lay the table structure on one side, and I put one end of the lower aprons in its place. I make sure everything is in its place and square. I drill the guide holes. I release the top apron. I pour some glue. I prepare the screws. I clamp the apron to improve the joint. I insert one screw on each end. I make sure everything is square. And I insert all the screws. And I do the same with the lower apron. I lay the table structure on the other side and I repeat the same process. Now I have to put the table boards. When the glue is dry, I put the table structure upside down on that plywood board, and I mark the perimeter and the legs position. There are a couple of notches in the front of the metallic base in my circular saw, and the outside face of the saw disc is well aligned with the side of that notch. I put that strip in such a way that the cutting line is right against the side of the notch, with the line inside the notch, because I want to cut the line. The piece of board below the strip is the piece I need, and if we remember how I draw the line, that line is not part of the piece I need. I extend the lines that show the position for the legs in the corners. And I cut those corners. And if I was precise, that piece of board should fit on the lower aprons. I just put it on the lower apron. I will neither glue nor screw it. I cut the top board some centimeters longer and wider than the table structure. I adjust the edge of the measuring tape to the middle of the apron, and I measure and I mark the position for the screws I will use to attach the top to the table structure. I drill the guide holes. I countersink them. And I screw the top. Still, once I screwed the table top, while the glue is not dry, the table wobbles slightly. But once the glue dries, the table is steady and sturdy, so it was a good idea to glue the joints. I will use this router bit to trim the board. The edges are perfectly aligned with the bearing, so it makes a cut that is perfectly aligned with the surface where the bearing rolls. With the bit installed in my router, I adjust the depth of cut to cut the thick of the board. I turn the router on, and I route with the bearing rolling against the aprons. And I route all around the table. As always, when I use the router, I wear safety goggles and ear protection. Here we can see how the edge of the top is perfectly flush with the apron. I sand the edges. And I also sand the top, because it is a bit dirty and ugly. I clean the top, and I make sure there are not rough edges. And there I have my work table. In another video you can watch how I installed a workbench base. Thanks for watching. You can find all my woodworking videos in my channel. And if you like my videos, thanks for subscribing.